Well, good afternoon. My name is Chuck with Knollwood Construction. In this little video I'm going to demonstrate how to make some cabinet doors using the CMT bits, the Mark Summerfield cabinet making bits. I'm going to make a rectangular inset panel door in this particular video. Two bits are used for this. They're complementary. The first bit, which is installed in my router table now, is used for the cope ends of the rails. Got some small pieces here already cut out. First thing you want to do when you get the bit installed, make sure your table's square, set up, fences aligned. But once the bit's installed, I use a straight edge to align my fences. It's a center bearing bit, so you want to make sure your fences are aligned with that. So using a long straight edge, I've got a steel rule I like to use. I adjust my right fence first. Any order will do until it is lined up and flush with the center bearing. Just touching on that. Lock that one down. In the left fence, same routine. Bring it out so it is in line with the steel straight edge. Again, the idea being that your material will then ride directly on the bearing. Just check for fit there at the bottom, make sure everything's lined up. Lock that one down. Another thing to note, your router table may be like mine. I've got an inset plate. With use and vibration, sometimes this plate will move down, and these edges here can catch your wood and make for a very unpleasant side effect. So when you're setting up your router table, make sure that all the plates and stuff are aligned and everything is set up tight before you start turning on the power. Notice on mine, I'm a little lazy. I keep the plug undone while I'm aligning this. I've had those problems in the past. On this particular one, we're going to be doing the cope ends of both of the upper and lower rails. Now this particular door, finished dimension is going to be 10 inches wide by 20 inches tall. With this bit set, the way it's designed, the rails are cut 4 inches shorter than the overall width of the door. Once that's done, then everything lines up perfectly when you put it together and you get your perfect dimension. On the stiles, they're cut to the height of the door. In this case, 20 inches. The stiles are cut at 20 inches. So now that we've got the router table set up, the next thing we want to do is set the height of the bit. What we're trying to achieve on this small piece here, this is the lower part of the profile. This part actually goes down on the table. The lower part of the profile here at this point, ideally is 1/8 of an inch thick, where the top piece, that can just kind of run wild. These bits are made to handle material from 3/4 of an inch to 7/8. Anything smaller or greater than that, these bits will have to be, well, you'll have to play around with it. You can get them to work, but it's not going to be ideal. Okay? So now that I've got this done, I have previously set my height, so I don't have to do that here, but on your router table like mine, there's a screw insert up or down to where you get your dimension you're looking for and some scrap pieces of wood. Once that's done, everything's locked in place, you can go ahead, power up the router, and make our cuts. Now, using these router tables, they're kind of powerful. You have to be careful. Be smart, work safe. I always use a sacrificial piece of wood. Here's my two rails that I previously cut. When you're on a router table and you're cutting cross grain, toward the back end, you'll get a lot of tear out. So what I always do, and is recommended, is to get a sacrificial piece of wood on the back so that when you push it through, that piece of wood takes the chip out away from the pieces you're trying to keep. Now these particular bits, you've got a good side and a bad side, or you might have a good side and a bad side. If your lumber's clear on both sides, no problem. If you're trying to grain match, the point is the good side or the show side is going to be down on the table. That's all you need to remember here. Okay? So with that in mind, safety gear. Okay, noisy part's over. So now what we have are the cope ends of both ends of my rails. So now we'll change bits. We'll put on the complementary bit to do the inside edges of the rails, top and bottom, and both styles. Okay, the bit's been changed. I've got my fences aligned. This bit, complementary to the last bit, has the upper bearing. So that's aligned the same way with the fences. Just use a straight edge, something nice and accurate. Both of your fences lined up so they touch the bearing and they're parallel all the way across. After that, the next step is to set the height of the bit to match the coat we put on the rails with the previous bit. Now that's done quite simply with this particular cope that's been cut. You'll see this center section right here. That's what's going to fit into the stiles when we get going that far. But the way to do that, that's this upper part of the bit. So all we need to do, and the easiest thing to do, is lay this up against it, and where you see that top bit bite, that's the height you want to set this to. So with a little trial and error on scrap, raise it and lower it, cut a scrap piece to make sure it fits up nicely, and then you're ready to run all of them. So because this is going to form the inside of the cabinet door front, we need to do both bottom and top rail in both styles. So now that we're set up to go, we'll power up. Safety pusher. Okay, now that the noisy part's done, you can see these will be the front sides. Again, the good side was down on the table when I made this pass. So now for my connections, you can see that these have been cut now, that when they fit together, rail and style, they have a nice tight fit. The sides, and of course the inside has a nice reveal, which will go all the way around, and obviously the slot is where the panel fits. You can either have a raised panel, which this set also does quite nicely, or you can use a flat panel. Choice is yours. All depends on the design and the wishes of the customer. So, very straightforward, very simple, very quick. Obviously you've got a whole kitchen of stuff to do. This kind of setup makes it a breeze. If I was doing one particular cabinet, a lot of different methods you can use. This is a very attractive one. This gives that nice reveal on the front edge. You can also use a slot cutter and get the same kind of result without this OG front edge. Depends on the style of the cabinet you're trying to build, and the contemporary, classical, whatever you're looking for. That's it. Remember, safety, safety, safety all the time. Thanks for looking. Bye.